Yes, beautiful. Welcome to Yeshiva Dav Shir sponsor Lo Nishmas Abiyak Shalom Le'Ab Sitzchok. We're holding Bo Basra Dav Kuzayin. We are in the second line on Dav Kuzayin and Dav. Says the Gemara, Itmar, Ochim Shecholku Bo Ba'al Choiv V'noton Chelko She'echol Meim. So this reminds us, this is a sugya that we learned in Maseches Bava Kama. So we may be familiar with it. Two brothers that divided a field and came to Baal Choiv and took one of them. Rav says it's bottle. The Shmuel Omar Vita. Shmuel says he was bevater. Ravasi Omar Noitel Revia Bekarka Revia B'Mois. What does it mean, Revia Bekarka Revia B'Mois? We'll see in one moment. We'll get back to that in one moment. And let's first of all see what the Gemara explains, and we'll go explain it a little bit more. It's completely divided. It's completely split. It's completely bottled. He holds brothers that divide a field, they're Yarshim, inheritance. So they, which means what? As the Rishbam points out over here, it's really also we learn Bava Kama, he says as well, he holds Yesh Breva. Which means when we split the field, we still are considered to be inheritance. We're inheriting a field of the father. So two brothers are inheriting a field. They're considered still to be Yorshim. The name Yorshim remains. They're still Yorshim, still inheritance, until for the rest of their life. So, and what is the idea? What is the idea of being what's the concept of being Yesh Brero? Yesh Brero means that whatever you take, I find out that was yours to begin with. That's what the father bequeathed to you to begin with. What happens if the Baal Choiv comes and takes it? So we go back to the beginning. Always Yesh Brero. Always Yorshim. Yorshim means this is what's supposed to come from the father. So if there's a Baal Choiv, the father owed money to somebody else. So what he had to bequeath is different. So we go back and divide all this. Every time there is a change in the Yerusha, we go back to the Brero and say he's buyer that we didn't divide correctly. Shmuel Amar Viter. He says, no, give it up. Shmuel holds, no, they're considered to be buyers. The father died, they inherited everything together. We don't know what belongs to what, and there's no Brero. So if you have two brothers, Reuben and Shimon are splitting the field. So Reuben tells Shimon, why should I give you this field? I'm an owner on this field like you. Shimon says, I'm an owner on the field like you. So what are we doing? We're considered to be a buyer and a seller. As if he sold the field. Everybody has a bailus and everything. But let's say I have a field in Lawrence, a field in Cedars. We're owners of both. So when we divide it, I'm telling you, okay, I'm going to sell you my part in Lawrence, and you sell me your part in Cedars. That's how I'm doing it. And we're selling it shaloi b'achayis. When I sell something with loy b'achayis, if it comes about choiv, too bad. It's a new thing.
Why shaloi?
That's in the state of Svar. In other words, why? Even though it's something should put down, even though we do have a klal according to one shita that we say that if you don't have a chayis, it's a chayis to a sefer. That's when I come and give you money. But when I'm splitting field, you take mine, you take part. We're not giving you money, we're just splitting something. Shmuel understands and therefore too bad. Comes about chayiv, too late. It's a new thing.
If both karkas are in the chayis, nothing. But if this is the only karka that has in the chayis,
there's no. The chayis between the brothers. I'm not responsible to you, and you're not responsible to me.
This son must have had in the chayis from the father.
No. The chayis. That's exactly.
I understand what the Gemara is saying now.
Yeah.
But for a Baal Choiv to take a karka,
he has a chayis.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but when he had the chayis, the father had it. He gave.
It's not a chayis. It's a Baal Choiv. It's a loan. There's no chayis by land. Yeah. Every loan you have a shibud. They do the chayis. A chayis is talking about a sale.
Right.
A chayis is only by a sale. Okay. So here we have Reuben and Shimon selling to each other the field.
Say the svara that when the father died, this is not really part of the
very good. Shmuel disagrees. Shmuel, we're not coming here to explain. We can say other svaras, but we're not coming to the svaras. Shmuel is telling him very clear what is a svar. He holds their buyers, and their buyers shlo b'chayis. So it's something new that's happening right now. I'm taking this field, we're done. You're taking this field, and we're done. That's what Shmuel holds. Rav holds, they're always Yoshev. They never split it. It's a Breira. Breira means, is bar. If I took this, you took mine, this is probably mine, this is probably yours. Because of Balchayiv, we go back to the beginning, we see it didn't happen. What about Rav Hasi? Rav Hasi, he's not sure if the Yoshim Lukuchas, he's Suffolk. Hilkach, Noita, Revia Bakarko, Revia Bamos. That's what it takes Revia Bakarko, Revia Bamos. And here there's two explanations. The Rashbam brings it over here, Rashi brings it above Akam. The one explanation that the Rashbam likes is that we're saying, what is it about the Suffolk? I'm not sure if the same Machlik as Rav Shmuel. Rav Shmuel arguing, is he considered to be a Yoirish and Yabreiro, or it's a Lekeach, Shlo Barchais? So I say, I agree, I'm a Suffolk, I don't know what to do. So what should I do? You get a quarter, not half. So what is Revia Bakarka, Revia Mois? Either Revia Bakarka or Revia Mois. You can pick and choose. Either he gives him a karka or he gives him moist. You can exchange it for money instead of giving him a karka if you want to. So Rabbas is basically just saying a side point. By the way, when I give you back the money, I could give you back the money. I could give you back the money. I can give you back by giving you a karka, or if I want to give you back money. It's either or. Either review of a karka or review of a moist. But what you're getting is only a quarter because of that story. That's the first shot of the Rashi / Rashbam. The second shot is not or, either or. Both, Revi'ah Bakarka and Revi'ah Mois. Why? He holds that maybe they're Yorshim. Yorshim, you have to redivide it. Because it goes with Breiro. That means we found out that we didn't divide it right, so you have to redivide it. That's Revi'ah Bakarka. But maybe they're Lekuchois, Lekuchosh Bachrais. That's what Shmuel's Chesar goes before. He holds it's Lekuchosh Bachrais. So you for sure have to pay me. The only shaila is, if I'm a Yorish, if I'm an inheritant, you can't give me money. Give me a karka. I want the land of my father. But if I'm a lekeach, I can give you back money. So that's what he says. You'll give me a quarter of it. You'll give me karka, and an additional quarter will give me mois. So the machloik, it's a two-part thing. That's how the second shot. That's what Ram brings his two shot. He brings two things, and he says. If you look at the end of the Yumatchim Esapkale, the Rashbam says that if you're going to see it, you see the words B'chol Hani Shemishmaitzim Ekantzim. That's Nudi Matril. You go up from there 4 lines. It's smack in the middle of the wide lines. It says the Rashbam Tfois Lo Shemisha. I agree with the first shot. Kach Bir Shebeini V'chenu Shein Mamesh B'ay Lo Shenachar. I disagree with the second Lashon. תכל איכד דפליגי בגמור תלוס התנויה תלוס המרואי כי הגבנו שהאחד סופק הולך כדיבר מי מן השניים הרי רגיל תפוס כדיבר שניהם. It says the Rashbam, I have your Rav, I have Yishmael, because Rav Asi is doing half and half. According to this, he's not doing half and half, he's doing a new shita. L'koch b'achrais. So therefore he says, take the first shot, he disagrees over here. And what is the thing? Either it's Yorshim, or it's a kochos, or I'm not sure, and therefore it's a quarter. So we call Shmaitzi, going back to what we saw in yesterday's daf. When I have brothers, there came a third brother, and I have to call a man and give it back to him. Or we saw in this daf, you do mikamtzim. You don't mevatel the machlekes, the chalukah. You don't redivide it. You just give it a piece. If they're looking at the next Rosh Bam, the case of 2 brothers that split came a third brother. In the case of today, you just give it back to that way. And no, you go back to the original chalukah and you have to redivide it, and that's how he paskin this thing. Okay. So now you have Beis Din, and the Beis Din are going to do shuma. You have 3 people. They're coming to do a shuma. Rashbam says for Yisayim. Come to do a valuation. What's it worth? One says this is worth the money, and the other one says worth 200. We're arguing what's the value. Then the din is very simple. Or the opposite. So you have 2 against 1. You go based on the right. What do you mean? What's the right? You go where the 2 say. Easy, right? 2 against 1. Now we're getting a little more complicated. Which is, what is the money? A money is 25 slaim. As we saw before, every selah is 4 zuz. So a money which is 100 is 25 slaim. One said is 20 sloim, which is 80. Which is 120. So I have here, one says the valuation is 80, the other one says 100, the other one says 120. What do we do? Need doing be money. So the first number says, take the middle one. Money. What's the money? The middle. 120, 80, 100, 100. No, not 100, 90. Which is between the first two, 80 or 100, 90. Not, ignore the 120, we'll explain in a second why. We make a shuma and we will split. It doesn't say what it is, it was explained in a moment. It says in most shop. The one that says you pay 100, milso mitziyah. So you take the middle one. 80, 120, take the middle one. What is the old? Kasovar ha'aro. He says this land, what is it worth? This is the one that Kuzayin would base. Tishu shov. It's worth 90. The one who says 20 sloim, which is 80, he's making a mistake of 10, going backwards from 90 to 80. He goes from 90 to 100. So the more who said? So you're saying you're basically going for the two lower valuations, 80, 100, 120. I say it's really 90, which is in between the first two. So why? Why are you going for the first two and not between the second two? Between the second and third. So the Gemara, it's worth 110. The one who says 100 went 100 back. Which is 120. So why are you saying it's the 90? So the Gemara in the Koit Mios Trei Kamoi Biyotcha. What's the reason? This is the Rashbam says, which is not the Lush of the Gemara. The Rashbam says, Tafasta Merubilo Tafasta. You're right. I have a discussion over here. Two of them agree it's not worth more than 100. Two of them agree it's worth 100 or more. So because two agree that it's not worth more than 100, I'll go with these two. Why not the other two? Tafasta Muot. You always take the lower amount. I don't know. I don't know. I don't do more. Some Moitzu Chaver over here. But I take the lower amount. Says the Gemara, Chaim say another shita. What do we saw in the end of Amud Aleph? A third shita, what do they say? Oisim shuma b'nei, make a valuation, umishalsh, and you split. What does it mean? How do you explain it? So the Gemara says, I'll tell you what it means. Kasavi aro tishim bitloso bitil toshavim. It was really worth 93 and a third. The one who says 80, he makes a mistake of 13 and a third. Why? Because the cheshbon is that he says that when a person makes a mistake, he makes a mistake up to 13 and a third. Right? Why is that so? If you look at the end of Amud Aleph, the Rashbam explains it a little bit. He says, I'm going to look at the Rashbam at the end of Amud Aleph. Right? Between the lower amount and the higher amount, what's the difference? 40. Right? Because you have 80, 100, 120. So the range is 40. So now take a third. What's a third of 40? 13 and a third. So he says it's a third. I have three people. I take a third. I'm going a third towards the full valuation. That's why I'm going a 13 and a third. So the Gemara says, why is that so? See, that person made a mistake. He made a mistake of 13 and a third. The one who said money, and the one who said 100, he really made a mistake of 13 and a third going forward. So he really should have said 106 and 2/3. But he said 100. Why is he saying less? So the Gemara will be dealing the limit fee. I forgot the rule. It's a rule by human beings, by humans, that your estimation is always based on the last number that you heard. So the way the Torah says it clearly, when they come to Beis, the lower one speaks first. That's how it works. So the lower one says it's 80. The other guy says he really thinks 106 and 2/3. He says, I'm not going to say 106 2/3. That's a little too much. He says 80, I'll say 100. In other words, he's lowering his estimation because of the first guy. That's what it is. I'm not adding too much to my friend. So who said? Maybe you'll go based on the higher valuation. Maybe or may I place of a closer shop. Maybe it's worth 113 and a third. Because that's 13 and a third more than 100. The one who says 100 he made the mistake instead of saying 113 and a third. He said 113 and a third less. And the one who said 120, he made 113 and a third a kamesh. It really should be 126 and 2/3, as we said before. So when we started the kamet finikul, in other words, you say people really come to 13 and a third, which we'll see in a moment why. And that's why between 80 and 100, it's really, you're saying 13 and a third more, 93 and a third. So why, and the second one, why is he not saying more? He didn't want to exaggerate, always the lower value, because first he doesn't want to go too much over his friend. But he really thinks there's more. So why are you choosing to use the 80 and 100? Choose the 100 and the 120. So the same answer as before. Take the first two with you. And they stand 100. You take the lower amount. Now, what's the reason we say 13 and 3rd? This is not clarified. What's the reason we say 13 and 3rd? So, l'chura, what comes out from the Rashbam said before, the ones that say at the moment we don't really understand it, but the reason is that when you see that there's three valuations, so I'm saying it gives an indication that there's three people. The first one made a mistake of a third of that valuation. Right? The lower one says 80. The top one says 120. The total is 40 in between. So I'm saying that gives you an indication. I mean, it's not like the first case that completely ignored person number 3. You have 80, you have 100, I say it's 90. What about 120? Completely ignored. According to the second sheet, though, I'm not completely ignoring 120. Take into account that 120 said something. I'm not going to follow him because tafasta more tafasta, but it will help me to tell me what was the mistake of the one that did 80. I'm saying, because we have 3 people, saying the 80 made a third of mistake from the total valuation. At 120, you have 80, he probably went a third back. And that's a way to do that at cheshbon. Based on the 120. Now, why are you going with the 80 and now with 100? So that Gemara says, because we want to take the mut. Which, according to that's based on what Rashbam says the Mudalef. The problem with what the Rashbam says the Mudalef is that Bishum of the 80, I understand why you're taking 13 and a third. That's a third of 40. But the 100, the one with the Zava mean that the 100 also made the mistake of 13 and a third. Why? We don't have an indication there's a mistake between 100 and 140. And I have to say, because there's 3 people discussing between 40, I know the range is 40. Therefore, each one gets like a third, which is very hard to understand. So the Gemara says, that may be the next line of the Gemara. Because the Gemara says, we pass like a third shita. I don't know the reason of the chayim. I don't understand it. I don't understand the svara of the chayim of the 13 and a third. So that's why the Gemara says we don't really understand it. They maybe go with our difficulty that we ourselves have that same difficulty.
Isn't he also discounting entirely the minimum valuation?
Not we're
taking a lowly high, which is divided
between 3. We're saying each one made a mistake. No, so
81.
No.
Take 80, 120 divided.
But we're saying the middle one. We're saying that really he wanted to say 106 and 2/3. He just rounded down to 100 because the guy says 80.
Okay, well, you're taking divided by 3.
You divide by 3. I don't know. Good child. Says the Gemara. The way the Bach says it. The Yoni Gorla Amri. The same thing like Rachir. We pass in that way. I don't understand him. So why? I don't understand what he's saying. Right? So that's what Rashbam says. Let me stop it down mine. So we don't understand really what's the reason, and that's what. But the Gemara brings a sheet that says halacha that way. Okay. So the Mishnah. Ha'omer.
So what happens at the end if you have a property and you have 3 appraisals? What do you do?
So it's a machlekes. Or what do we paskin like? We paskin like the middle one. That's what we paskin like. We do one.
Like I'm sure.
Yeah.
You take the one in the middle.
Yeah. That's it. So the Mishnah. Person says, I'm giving you half a soda. Mishamnim b'neim. We'll do evaluation. And the Gemara is going to explain what is Mishamnim b'neim, what does it mean exactly Mishamnim? How exactly you explain it. V'noit the chatzi soda takes half the field. Chetzi b'dorim anymore. I'm giving you the half in the south. I'm getting Mishamnim b'neim, v'noit the chetzi b'dorim. So he does a shuma, he takes half in the south. For mikabel olav, the seller needs to accept Mokav Agoder, the fence. Choritz uben choritz. Choritz uben choritz, we'll see, is a ditch in front of the fence. We'll see in a moment. 2 ditches. A big ditch and a small ditch. The kamu choritz, what's the size of choritz? Shish tefachim. Uben choritz is the size of a small ditch. Shloish. Says the Gemara, Oma v'chia ba'ab, Oma v'yichanon, Loi keyach noitel kochu sheboi. The buyer takes the worst part of the field. What does it mean? Explains the Rashbam, not that he's taking less in value. The field is worth 100. So he takes 50. But I can give him any part of the field worth 50. Let's say he has in this field an area which is a great area. Best sun, best air, grows the best. That area is only 20% of the field, but it's worth 80%. 80% is worth, and it's worth 40% of the field. So then he'll give him from the rest of the field a much larger portion. But, because he has to give him 50%. But he can choose what he's giving it to him. Mishamni means he's going to do a cheshbon, give him whatever he wants. Says, but that's not the simple understanding of the word mishamni. The simple understanding of the word mishamnim is that you actually divide it. That they're both equal to take half and half exactly. That's what the simple understanding of the word mishamnim means. The Rashbam brings a riot from Maseches B'choros. So that's what the word mishamnim means. So he says that I'll tell you why you're making a mistake. While you ate dates in Bavel, Targimino. In other words, this is a little bit of a lashon.
Put that.
He said, listen, you were eating a lot of dates and having a good time. I was learning the sugya. This is one of the examples Chachotzi brings where you see that Amoraim spoke to each other in a way that seems to be with disrespect. So he speaks about it, that they didn't really mean it. He has a whole tshuva about it. But this is one of these expressions. You were eating dates, I explained it. Miseifa, look at the next part of the Mishnah. Tani Seifa, Chetze B'Dorim, give you half in the south. And he takes half in the south. What do you mean Mishamnim? What's the difference to Mishamnim? He says, I'm giving you a half in the south. So that's the half. What is there to debate? I'm not talking, it doesn't mean I'm giving you self. I'm giving you only the value. That's what look at the Rashbam. In my Mishamnim, in the last Rashbam of the Homot, Klimin Kedvarecha Kenu. Why you split? Why do you have to value? Why you do evaluation? Take a straight line and take the chetzim. The fact that he says you do evaluation, it's for money. I'm giving you whatever it's worth, wherever I want.
Maybe he's using a lesson of shaman that actually best sense to go then and survey it. You give him what's
so the word says no. The word is mishamim. You would say push-up shot means you go and you split it. Just no, mishamim means give you evaluation. Then give whatever I want. And at the beginning of the Mishnah, the Rashbam goes on and says it's the whole Sunday. I'll give you half of that. Here we talk about giving you the value of the south. Right? That's what it is. So the fact that when I'm telling you I'm giving you the half of the south is very clear. I'm very clear what I'm giving you. So you see, it's still like you whatever I want. So you see, what I'm giving you is not giving you the actual half. I'm giving you the valuation of half. Says the Gemara, now we end the Mishnah, the details. When you sell a field, you're selling with it some parts of the field. What is it? You're giving him a fence, and you're giving him a ditch, a big ditch and a small ditch. The big ditch is more exterior, it's more outside, and the small ditch is closer to the fence. Both of them behind the other, which means before the fence, before getting to the fence. Right? So, what explains the Gemara of in order to avoid that an animal should not go and jump on the fence. So you have a ditch, so you can't jump on the fence. So just make a big ditch. We have to have a small ditch too. Because the big ditch is very wide, 6 tvachim, the animal will go into the ditch and jump from the ditch. Says the Gemara, so make a small ditch only. So she will stand on its edge and jump. And there, the kala ben choytz tefach. And in between you have a tefach. So what helps? She on the tefach she can't stand. It's too small. So the animal goes in front of the big choritz. The kajum is too far from the fence. It goes into the choritz. It's still too far. And in the small choritz she can't stand. That's why these ditches help to push away the animal, not to get to the fence, have to jump into the field. And tomorrow night, Be'ez Hashem, we're starting the big, important, vital Perek Yishnoichlim, that will take us till way after Sukkot. Be'ez Hashem.
You're leaving Sunday,